Welcome to the Nova Hoopcast, special Valentine's Day edition, Kevin.
Right.
We're joined by Kent Kling from Stonebridge Regional Champions. I believe you're 14-1, Coach. Congratulations, and thanks for taking some time to join us today.
Thanks, guys. Happy Valentine's Day.
You know, I'm kind of waiting for my wife to come down the stairs and be like, really, today you're doing the podcast? But thanks for coming on the show, Coach. As we do a lot of times, we get some background from the coaches that we interview. For the people out there who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your coaching background and how you got to Stonebridge.
Coaching, well, I started Loudon Basketball Academy probably 12 years ago with Dave DeLuigi, whose son James used to play at Stonebridge and is a good family friend. We've been, putting together programs for kids in the area to help them be basketball smart, right? We don't have a lot of 6'10" guys in the area, as you can see from both of our kids. 5'10", probably 5'8". So we, we've been around just on the AAU side. Last year it came down to they were looking for a coach, and the coach that they had lined up didn't pan out. And then it's August and then September, and I was just like, oh, what the heck, let me apply. So late in the game, all the other good coaches are gone, so maybe they'll pick me, right? So it just seemed to work out, and I did come into the game late, like September, so we were on pedal to the metal right when I got in, trying to get a couple, camps in and stuff like that. And, we just seemed to be cruising there again, trying to get, coaches on staff. Last year was tough. We had good guys with Coach Breon Hamlet, had Justin Odell who moved over for a better opportunity over in Dominion. Congrats to them. They went pretty far this year. And then I've always had Coach Joe Fuller, who's been my sidekick ever since I was coaching, travel soccer, 10, 12, 14 years ago, however long it was.
That's awesome, Coach. It's interesting always hearing from different coaches what journey they take, and obviously it's worked out very well as you're in the state tournament. You're regional champions now. Before we talk about that, I just got to ask you, just hearing that story, was it an adjustment for you? Like, people get into high school coaching, especially public school coaching, and they, oftentimes think, hey, it's going to be great. We go in the gym and coach the guys up, and there's so much like paperwork and administrative stuff involved in it that people don't really know until they get into it. Did you experience that yourself?
Yeah, it's. I was expecting a well-oiled machine, sign a couple things here. No, it just all falls on the coach's shoulders. And I'll tell you, look, I have good friends like, Coach Hawes, Coach Costello, Coach Kaczynski, all those guys that I really did lean on last year. And they helped out a lot, really. I mean, they helped me get through. No, Kent, you're on your own with that. What do you mean? No. And then, what, like a big help was managers, right? I mean, the managers helped me out. Coach, we do it this way. What are you doing over here? So
Right.
And really it is, when you come into any position, right, you try to surround yourself with good people. And luckily, with friends like that had already gone through it, Coach Alexander too, over at Loudoun County, those guys kind of said, no, you got to go this way, Kent, come on.
Right. Nice. So here you are, you're a regional champion and you're headed to the state tournament. Maybe just tell us a little bit. I mean, this is a crazy year, obviously. What's the mindset of your team? What's your preparation like? And maybe have you leaned on other guys in terms of how they've prepared, for state tournament games?
Well, we're a lot about preparation, right? I mean, and I'll say that the preparation started as soon as we, created the program last year, right? Implementing the things that we thought at the high school level were important, right? Rebounding, look, Ben played there at Stonebridge for 3 years. Before that, there was no such thing as a rebound, right? It was, hey, let's shoot a three. Hey, run back real quick, guys, right? So it was really focused on, setting down a foundation that was based on fundamentals, right? And we work a lot on fundamentals, right? We spend a lot of the practice working on passing, shooting, playing defense, really honing the skills. And if you watch the games, right, you're going to see we don't have maybe, we do have some good rebounders, right? So helped us a lot. But the turnovers for us have really gone down, and that was a goal at the beginning of the season. After we played that first game against Rockridge, and I think we had 21, and then last night or the other night we 10, right? And as a high school coach, you guys know, I mean, turnovers matter, right? So it's trying to basically prepare so that we have good players. It doesn't mean that we have to have great players in every position, but good players that are going to work together. So preparation, yeah. I mean, it was all about the planning from last year to get to here, and we're measuring success. Not on the wins and losses, but how much we're learning on the floor.
Well, you mentioned players, Coach. You got a lot of them this year. Brian and I had a chance to see you guys play in the regional semifinal game against Riverside. Talk a little bit about this year's team. That night, it was Dylan Huntermark
Yeah.
having a big game with 31, but Cole DeVito, who I don't think has done a ton of scoring, had a really big night that night as well with 22 points. But those aren't the only two guys. You can come at people with 3 or 4 guys on a given night. So tell us a little bit about this year's group.
Well, they're a great group, and who succeeds on the floor, whether it's from a statistical standpoint, it doesn't matter, right? They don't care. They just want to win, right? I mean, you have Cole DeVito. He's my Micah Runzioni, right? I mean, he's just the glue that holds a team together. He's a senior. I had the opportunity to coach him in 8th grade on the middle school level, which was, my first exposure to him. And I was like, this is the guy, right? I mean, he he gives me 10 points almost every game, right? I think he's averaging somewhere around 9. The big push with him this year was, Cole, I need a couple more rebounds. Come on, man, just 2 more, right? Uh, I mean, then you have, my backcourt, which includes a point forward in Jacob Thomas, right? Dylan Huntermark, his maturity over the last 2 years, just unbelievable, right? I mean, all right. I think he wanted to be a shooting guard, but I was like, look, man, you're 5'9", if that, right? So run the show. So between those two, and then you have Rico Limcalco. I mean, it's a 3-guard front at some point, and that ball just moves, and those guys get it done. Uh, Alex Zabel, right? I mean, that's a name. Okay, who's Alec? Who's Alex Zabel? Then against Pop Falls, he seems to be my Pop Falls guy. I bring him in the game, and then we're putting him up against Mancuso, right? And it's just big guys against big guys. Um, yeah, and then you have the underclassmen, Sam Whitehead. All of a sudden, I remember talking to Hawes the other day, and he was just like, "Well, who the heck is this Whitehead kid?" And Sam had like 17 points. So they find the guy that's getting it done, right? Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It seems like the chemistry is great on that team, and Kevin and I, fortunately have experienced that as well, and that can carry you a long way. So you guys head down to Patrick Henry. In this day and age, there's so much video available. I assume you've studied a little bit of video. What do you think going into that game? What do you see?
They're going to be tough, right? I mean, it's definitely they're not going to quit, right? And that's the thing that we have to be prepared for, right? I would say there was a 3-game stint that we had where we couldn't put together 4 quarters, right? And then you get into the tournament, and we started to play 4 quarters. So we have to come and play 4 quarters. It's just that time. See how that coach is going to adjust to the way that we play, right? But we're going to have to be prepared for the coaching adjustments that he makes.
Well, Coach, we wish you all the luck in the world. I mean, Brian and I are just all about North Virginia basketball. We don't have favorites. We just want everyone to succeed. And we're going to talk a little bit about Patrick Henry later on the show. But good luck. I believe that game is on Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, long bus ride.
Long bus ride. And we'll be hopefully watching somewhere on social media. I know we have a great system with the Pixlot cameras Loudoun County has this year, but we're not quite sure what we'll get down there. But all the best of luck. We hope you guys win, and we hope we're talking about you guys after, because we won't be on until after the state final, which I believe is next Saturday. So hopefully we'll be talking about Stonebridge as state champs.
Yes,
Be awesome. Yeah. Congrats, Coach. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
See ya. Bye.
Yep. Coach, I don't know if you even picked up on it. He said he's my Micah Ruzioni, who was like on the We Believe in Miracles U.S. hockey team. That's
He's an older guy, and that's an older guy reference.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I know exactly what he's talking about. But, we did get a chance real quickly. I want to come back to them in a second, but we did get a chance to watch them play, and they're a very solid squad. And, the good thing for Coach is he's not losing a whole lot. He's losing Cole DeVito, and he's losing Devon Falk, who's the big guy, who's a senior, and one or two other guys, but a lot of them are going to be back. But let's save some of that for our big state tournament show, which is really what we're doing today. We're going to talk about each classification and what's going on, and try to fill in some of the gaps for people who don't know what's happened, and talk a little bit about the teams that our local teams in Nova are playing. So you ready to get into it?
Let's do it. I'm ready. I have to put my glasses on to read these brackets, though.
All right. Let's start with the 3A, Brian. All right. Can you see that?
I got it.
All right. So this is just off the VHSL website. It's the bracket. It hasn't been updated. If you're looking here at the top, Brian, it had Abington and Northside. Northside is a Roanoke school, and Abington is a deep south, almost down to the border school. But that was a game that was played last night, so we can fill in the blanks there. That's an Abington win, and Abington is going to represent the D region, and they're going to host the winner of Liberty Christian Academy. They call it LCA down there, and that's on the campus of Liberty University. And they're going to be playing. It's not Sportswood. I think somebody had a spelling error there, but it's Spotswood from the Harrisonburg area. And Brian, they're playing today at 2:30. I know a lot of sports have asked the opportunity to play on a Sunday, which they usually don't ever do. But given the weather and the fact that we got to move seasons along, they're going to play today at 2:30. So we won't know, who's going to win that Region C. But we're here to talk about Independence, who was our Region B champion. They're going to take on the Region A champion, which is Hopewell, have the Richmond area on Wednesday. And what a final, a regional final Independence had against Skyline. Did you see that score?
Triple overtime,
107 to 102. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that not a whole lot of defense was being played.
It doesn't sound like it.
No, I think it was kind of a shootout.
Yeah.
I watched some of it online. I watched a little bit early, and then I watched it late because it kept on going on and on. But a great game, a great win for a young Independence program in their second year. And someone I mentioned last week, and I think I said I should have mentioned him more throughout the years, is Wes Williams.
Yeah, he had 40, didn't he? 40 or 41?
40 points. When you score 100 points, it's going to happen like that. But he did have 40, only a sophomore. Coming back the next 2 years for the Tigers. So he's an up-and-coming guy that I think we're going to hear a lot about the next couple of years. But there's twin brothers, the Gagan brothers, Bradley and Jack, who had a good game. Bradley with 23, Jack with 22. Shooters, can do a little bit of everything. But what really helped them was I think they were in some foul trouble, and they had a kid, Aiden Sobolski, came off the bench with 11 points. He had a big three late. So, they've played it. We talked about last week. I think I'm going to take credit for that. I told you I think they could win that region. Looking at it, and they did. But now they're in the deep end of the pool. They're playing a very good Hopewell team, and we're going to see this a lot with some of the other teams in the state. They have not played a whole lot of games. Hopewell's 6-0. So they started late, whereas, Independence is now 12-4. So you're talking about 16 games to 6 games. Do you think that's any advantage for the teams that have played more? Do you think that'll be a factor?
It's hard to tell. I mean, my gut says yes, but I don't know. We've never seen this before. Like, if some of these teams haven't played as much, do they have fresher legs? Are they hungrier because they have only played a certain number of games? But it's really interesting. Like you said, we'll see it in some of the other regions that you'll have a team that's played 15 games going up against a team that's played 6. It's definitely an unusual situation. I did want to make one comment, Kevin, about that Class 3. Excuse me. When you look at that top bracket, Liberty Christian against Spotswood, that's so that ruling was just a number of years ago, allowing private schools
Liberty Christian, yeah,
to play in VHSL, and there's all kinds of stipulations in terms of having to follow VHSL rules, obviously, if you're going to play in the in the VHSL tournament. So that's interesting to see them.
Well, that was a big lawsuit by LCA to get into
Right.
VHSL, and there's a lot of
Right.
money at Liberty University, and I think VHSL didn't want to mess with it. But back to Independence, they're playing talk a little bit about Hopewell. They're playing a very good Hopewell team led by Elvin Edmonds Jr. He's a junior, and his dad, Elvin Sr., is the head coach, which is kind of neat. He's
Nice.
coaching his kid. We talked a little bit about Coach Kling coaching, people in the county who coach their own kids and how difficult it is. But at Hopewell, Elvin Edmonds makes them go. And he's a Bucknell signee, Brian. He's already signed with Bucknell. He had 30 in their win over Petersburg, who's always good. They won 72-62. Also, James Pelham and Lamonte Ellis are 2 players that get it going for Hopewell. So I think we're in the deep end of pool now. Everyone's good, and I think that's going to be a tough game for Independence on the road Wednesday at Hopewell.
Class 4, I don't know if we have too much to talk about there, do we, Kevin?
No, we don't. I don't have a bracket because we don't have anyone in our area. We do need to talk a little bit about Loudoun County High School, coached by Mark Alexander, doing another good job. I mean, Brian, he won his 2nd district title. He won his 2nd region title, and 3 years ago he was in the district title game. So he's quietly, consistently getting it done. I know we were over there last year. I think he does a phenomenal job. He finishes 15-3 after a loss at Hanley, which is not an easy place to play. If anyone knows anything about Winchester, beautiful school, Hanley High School, right in the center of town. They lose in the region title, and Hanley moves on to represent this part of the state. So we don't have anyone going down to 4A, but great season for Loudoun County.
Kevin, you and I talked before we came on about Hanley, young coach, right? We just talked to Coach Kling, not to say he's old. However, he's older than the coach at Hanley. It's a young guy, Zach Harrell, right?
Yeah, he played at Millbrook outside of Winchester in Frederick County. He played at Roanoke for a friend of ours, Clay Nunley, for a couple of years. I believe he got hurt, and doing a great job, very young. In his first year as coach, their head coach, Jason Toten, left to go across the mountain, as they always say, to Woodgrove. And, that's not easy. Coach Toten did a great job. So is Zach Harrell doing a good job for Hanley this year. We wish them luck as they head on into the state tournament. So next up, Ryan, is 5A, and I'm going to try to get the 5A on here. Right.
You got this, Kevin. I believe
Got this. Well, there's always something going wrong when I do this, but here we go. 5A. All right.
Share screen.
I know, right? I got to get rid of this one. While I'm working on my technology, Brian, why don't you talk a little bit about Stonebridge and your thoughts on them? And, like we said to Coach Kling, we had a chance to see them play.
Yeah. I guess one thought that comes to my mind is the balance that they have, the depth that they have, the fact that they kind of do it by committee. Like you said, they have good players for sure. Everybody wants that guy that scores 30 a game. Obviously in high school, if you have that, a kid like that can carry you quite a bit, but there's also great value in having the balance and the depth that they have. You know, it's like you're not relying on just one guy to do it for you every night. They've got, you know, 5, 6, 7 guys that can carry them, and it seems like they have that it factor a little bit. The other thing that stuck out to me that Coach Kling mentioned is that they don't really care who gets the credit, and that's a little bit of a cliche, you know, in sports, but it's hard to get to that point. It really is. It takes a special group to get there, and when you have guys that play for each other and really don't care about the individual accolades, you know, I've always believed, and this isn't unique to me, but like the individual accolades take care of themselves when you put the team first. And it sounds like Stonebridge has a lot of those intangibles going on, but they're driving down to Patrick Henry, which has great tradition as well.
And that's not an easy drive. You know, probably 3.5 hours they'll play at Patrick Henry, who has that big advantage of playing at home. And this year there's no central site, so if you win, you continue to be the home school. You play the state championship at your own school. I don't know the rules on spectators down there, but it'll be a tough ride down 81 for Stonebridge. My experience with Patrick Henry, Roanoke, is that they're very athletic. I went with the Riverside team last year when they went down for the state quarterfinal. Very athletic. Riverside was up early, running their sets. Patrick Henry was taking quick shots, kind of anxious. And then as the game went on, Patrick Henry's athleticism really kind of took over. And I think that was an 8 or 10 point win for Patrick Henry. So a lot of athleticism, a lot of history down there. Patrick Henry, Roanoke, they won, you know, state titles, have a lot of great players. So I think it'll be a tough game for them. They are led this year by Javante Smith, who was last year's player of the year in that area. They're 8-1 on the season, and they won a game against William Fleming in the regional championship on a free throw, Brian, with 0.3 seconds left. And I read the article about it, and the William Fleming coach said, "I'm not going to say it wasn't a foul, but you know, who calls that foul? You know, with that time left." And you'll have both sides of that. People saying, "Well, a foul's a foul." And then you have people saying, well, let them decide it on the floor, not by free throws. So those are two city rivals. So I can imagine that game was very highly charged. So I think they're going to be pumped up, and they have a lot of good talent. I forgot to mention one more player, Jack Faulkner for Patrick Henry Roanoke had 18 in that game. They had 12 threes. So wow.
Jeez.
I don't think.
I don't know much. You know more about Patrick Henry than I do, but I just think, I mean, Stonebridge has it going on, but it's a tall task to go down and win in a place like that.
I agree. I think they're going to have their hands full, but I believe in them. I think they have a good backcourt, as Coach Kling said. They have some good big men. They have glue. I think they definitely have a very good chance. So we wish them luck. And just for those people out there, those basketball junkies, here's the other side of the bracket. It hasn't been updated, but Green Run did beat Salem to win the Region A title. And they're playing a very good LC Bird team at home out of the Richmond area. I think that's going to be a really, really good game. So if Stonebridge does get by Patrick Henry, they're going to have another tall order. And we wish him luck, as we told Coach. We hope he does well. All right, Brian, let's move into your wheelhouse, the 6A bracket. Brian, give me a minute. Start talking about it. We've got Hayfield and Centerville. Let's talk a little bit about those teams.
Yeah, very interesting. I think Hayfield was a 2 seed, right?
Yes.
And Centerville was a 1. So obviously Hayfield beat Braddock and South County. So I've seen them play. They've had a really good season, 12-1, Hayfield. They also have tremendous depth. I mean, they got Braylon Wheeler, Ashton Pratt. They've got some young guys. I mean, they have contributions from a lot of different places. So from one night to the next, it could be different people, but I think it has to kind of start with Braylon Wheeler. at the guard spot. Centerville, second consecutive season, regional champions going for a state title. And even though they've got depth as well, they've got some maybe more recognizable or marquee players in Chris Kazemka, who's their senior combo guard, Avery Ford, who I think I saw them play the other night against Madison. And Avery Ford brings an element that you don't often see, in that he's a true rim protector. I mean, it's hard to attack the rim when he's lurking around there. He's, he jumps so high, so athletic. He blocks a lot of shots. So he does change things. He's a game changer in terms of what Centerville is able to do defensively, because he can help cover up for mistakes. He can make it tough to attack the basket. So that's, that's tough. I think Kazemka is usually going to get his points. And if Avery Ford is doing his thing defensively, and I think he's been playing a little bit better offensively as well, I think they're tough to beat. But Hayfield, again, they won't back down. They've got a lot of depth. Both teams do. I think the other thing that stands out to me is Centerville has some size, and you don't always see that in public schools, not only with Avery Ford, but Ryan Newell is about 6'7", starts, and they can bring some size off the bench as well. So I think it's a great matchup, and two really good guys. I think everybody would agree. The coach is Carlos Poindexter, who we had on last week, and Kevin Harris at Centerville, we've had on before. Really two top rate guys coaching in this one.
Now, one of the things we talked about with Coach Jones last week at Hayfield was success that, he
Coach Poindexter.
Coach Poindexter, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the other Carlos.
Right.
Coach Poindexter said, and, Carlos Jones being an example of this, there was so much success for Hayfield back when Coach Poindexter was playing. And this is their first semifinal appearance since 2002. So very happy for them. And I will be the first one to admit, all year we were talking about four teams: Centerville, who made it, South County, South Lakes, and Lake Braddock. And then here Hayfield is, I think, a little bit under the radar to some people, getting it done and beating that, great Lake Braddock team, and then coming back and beating South County at South County. Wow, what a great year for them. And good luck to both these teams. But I think you're right. Great game. And, one of them's going to get to the state title. We always would complain that nobody in 3A would ever win a state title from Northern Virginia. And now the way the thing's set up, I mean, we're going to have three teams in the semifinals. So it's a little bit easier for us to bring it home. And both these two teams could do it. How about?
And I'm going to plead guilty real quick, Kevin, because I know, especially the first half of our season on our Hoopcast, I talked about Braddock and South County all the time. Maybe because I sat on the bench at Fairfax last year and had to live it firsthand, and they're both great teams. But props to Hayfield for getting there.
Let's talk about the other semifinal, Brian. Potomac at Lansdowne. Man, what a game that's going to be. You have Lansdowne. I hope I live in Lansdowne, and this is Lansdowne.
On the Potomac.
On the Potomac, thank you. Lansdowne is led by Donald Hand Jr., Brian. I know you know that name, but I don't know if a lot of people out there know that name. Donald Hand Sr., great player at UVA, former captain, 4-year starter, played overseas. This is his son, who's a junior, who's got a ton of offers. He's a big-time recruit. He got offers from BCU, Clemson, JMU, ODU, Penn State, TCU. He had 30 in their final regional championship over a good Thomas Dale team, 55-52. So we know how good Potomac is, but I think Lansdowne is bringing a lot to the table in that semifinal.
I don't see Virginia on that list, Kevin. Interesting to see if Virginia, I'm sure they're involved.
I didn't think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah. All I know about Lansdowne is what you've told me and what you have there on our notes. But I've seen Potomac quite a few times this year, and I'm not, I'd love to see Hayfield or Centerville win it. I would lean slightly towards that side of the bracket, the Potomac Lansdowne in terms of slight favorites for a state title. Potomac, again, they're just very deep, very well coached with Keith Honore. They all, they're talented. They play their roles. They defend. They rebound. They got guys that can score. They got a good point guard in Kyle Honore. And I think I texted you one of the times I was watching them play, and they'll bring like their second group in, and their seventh, eighth, ninth guy. There's not much of a so they're really good. And I just kind of, they have a feel about, an aura about their program, and maybe we've talked about that kind of thing a lot over the years, whether it's a tradition that they're all trying to live up to. They have a very high standard. So it'll take a lot to beat them. But again, Lansdowne has some things going in their favor as well. That's another one that stood out to me, Kevin. The 12 games versus 6 games. We see that kind of up and down the bracket.
Yeah. Well, I think, all 4 of these teams definitely deserve to be there. I know that some haters out there will say, oh, it's a shortened season and not everyone got to play, but these 4 teams are a great representation of 6A, and they all are good. One last comment about Potomac. I mentioned this early about the difference in number of games played. You've got a 5-1 Lansdowne team playing a 12-0 Potomac team. So, they've had half the season at Lansdowne that Potomac's had. I don't know if it'll make a difference or not. Maybe the coaches can comment on that after they play on Wednesday, but just another interesting fact heading into this final 2 games.
Well, let me say, Kevin, on that note, I mean, this is going to be a season that we all look back on, really, and these players, coaches, and some of it will be fond memories, some of it will not be fond memories. It's just such an unusual situation, and you and I have seen it, just like you see on the college level, the pauses. I mean, there's been so many teams that have had pauses, and if your team doesn't have a pause, your opponents have pauses, and you got to scramble, and you don't play for like 10 days straight. There's just been so many unusual things, and I'm just thankful for these kids that we've made it this far. And Kevin, I'll mention, there's so many stories. But Chris Kazemko for Centerville, so they made it to the state finals last year, them and SoCo. He was out last year with a knee injury. And so he made it back, got back healthy this year, has had a great season. And, for him to lead the Wildcats, him and Avery Ford and, their teammates to get back to this point, it's a great story. And I'm just thankful that we had a season, and that it looks like, knock on wood, we'll get through next weekend and we'll have state champions in all these classifications.
So again, just to wrap things up, state semifinals this Wednesday. I'll put something out on our Twitter page or Instagram page with the times. And we'll be back next Sunday after the state finals are played on Saturday to talk about, hopefully, some of our teams. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that have an opportunity to win the state title. So hopefully we're talking about 3 of them from Northern Virginia. Maybe we can add in some of our superlatives. And that'll be our 10th and final show, which has also been an interesting year for us, doing things through Zoom, not visiting schools. But it's going to be an exciting week. Hopefully no weather messes that up, and we'll be here next Sunday to wrap things up.
Let's go Nova.
That's right. You guys have a good week. Thanks for listening. Brian, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys next week.